From the US, we traveled halfway around the world to Japan. This travel log captures our beautiful experiences of Japan during the full bloom of cherry blossom season. We started with a pre-trip of Tokyo, followed by the main part of our trip exploring the cultural treasures of Japan. The combination of pre and main trip lasted 14 days. Capital of Japan only since the 19th century, Tokyo has grown into the world's largest metropolis, yet still maintains an astonishing blend of the ultra-modern with century-old temples and shrines. Our first day in Tokyo, we visit the Tokyo National Museum. Here is Howie, our trip leader, a retired software engineer from Sony, now excelling in his new career as an outstanding tour guide. The Tokyo National Museum, established in 1872, is the oldest Japanese national museum. It is the largest art museum in Japan and one of the largest art museums in the world. The museum houses and preserves a comprehensive collection of artworks and archaeological objects of Asia, but mainly focuses on Japan. Just outside the back of the museum is a beautiful garden that a few of us from the tour group get their pictures taken. Here is Leslie and Bob, Rex and Sue, and Christina, Sue, and Bob. There were 3 Bobs, 2 Sues, and 2 Lindas in our tour group of 15 people. From the museum, we walk across the street to Winno Park, one of the city's largest open spaces and renowned for its seasonal cherry blossoms. How we spot some young men setting up their space on the mall for a corporate sponsor. These boys will spend day and night to reserve this spot for the next few days. Howie has a treat for all of us.
Cheers! Cheers! For cherry blossom! For cherry blossom!
It is sake with real gold leaf flakes in it. Apparently, the Japanese enjoy consuming gold leaf, as we will see more of later. In Winno Park is Tokyo's oldest temple, Kiyomizu Kanen-do. This temple has a platform overlooking a circle made from a pine tree. This circle is called the Pine Tree of the Moon. The original pine tree was unfortunately destroyed in a storm during the Indo period, 1603 to 1868. The current tree dates only from 2011. We continue walking through the park and with several stops to take photos of all the colorful trees. This walk takes us through the Yanaka district, one of the only areas of Tokyo undamaged during World War II, and home to many traditional wooden houses. Howie convinces Christina to put on a traditional house coat to welcome customers at one of these houses. The next day, we walked to Shinjuku Shion National Park. It was March 28th and the cherry blossoms were in full bloom. This park contains over 1,100 cherry blossom trees of 65 different varieties, including various types of Sata Sakurua and Sume Yoshino trees. In addition to all of the cherry blossom trees, this garden also has many beautiful flowers throughout the grounds. This is the Taiwan Pavilion. This pavilion was built in 1927 in commemoration of the marriage of the Emperor Showa by voluntary Japanese residents of Taiwan. We walked along a brook that produces a lovely background of the cherry blossoms. I talked Sue into getting into the photo to make it even more beautiful. The more we explored the park, the more different varieties of cherry blossoms we found. Full bloom only lasts a few days out of each year, so today is a very popular day for the professional photographers as well as the tourists to get their spectacular photos. However, I was all tuckered out after the long walk and took a breather on the ground. This afternoon, a few of us decided to explore the Ginza district of Tokyo on our own. Of course, it didn't take long for us to get lost, but no worries, a Japanese lady took 10 minutes out of her busy schedule to get us back on track. This is the area of Tokyo where the aura of wealth and luxury simply overflows. Here we are in the Mishikoshi Ginza department store. This is the oldest surviving department store in Japan and has pretty much everything. It is similar to Harrods of London. We decided to get some food for lunch in the department store's Ginza Food Garden on 2 floors in the basement of the 16-story department store. We pass on the $6.48 strawberry, the $16.20 cantaloupe, and the $5.40 apple. In this store, there are all kinds of expensive items, like this cute little samurai figurine for only $19,440. We get back to the hotel easy enough, and Howie takes us on one of his Howie Extra activities, a trip to the Tokyo Tower at night. The Tokyo Tower is a communications and observation tower in the Shibikon district of Minato, Tokyo, Japan. At 1,092 feet, it is the second tallest structure in Japan. The structure is an Eiffel Tower-inspired lattice tower that is painted white and international orange to comply with air safety regulations. We take the elevator to the top deck. As the doors open, the indoor observation deck is decorated in a cherry blossom theme. We all take in the sights of the projected cherry blossoms falling out of the night sky. Here is what Tokyo looks like at night, 1,000 feet above the busy streets. The next morning, we take a tour of the Tsukiji fish market. The street is narrow and we try to stay out of the way of the motor scooters. This fish market is the largest seafood market in the world. We stroll past stalls bursting with large sea creatures and colorful vegetables. Here's a giant crab eating a giant marlin. You have to watch your step to avoid the propane-powered forklifts as they are zooming all around us. We stop in for a breakfast brunch at one of the popular sushi restaurants in the fish market district. Here is the master chef preparing our sushi. Note that later in this trip we will all have an opportunity to make our own sushi. Our plates arrived with egg, squid, ahi, shrimp, and salmon, as this is a very large and good sushi brunch. Howie explains how to mix the sauces. We all pose for a group photo.
Okay.
Here is an aerial shot of the old fish market. You can see this curved building used to be a train station right next to the port, which makes it convenient for the fish to go from the sea to market to train. On October 1st of 2018, this fish market is closing after 83 years and being replaced by the new Toyosu market shown here on the other side of the bay. This has caused concerns among the locals that this popular tourist attraction will be gone. This is the Grand Torii Gate of Meiji Jingu, the largest of its style in Japan and rebuilt in 1975 with hinoki wood from Taiwan. All shrines have a torii gate, even if they do not have a main sanctuary housing the spirit of a deity. A torii gate is a boundary line between holy ground and the secular world. Passing through the torii gate signifies that you have stepped into the domain of the deity. Once you pass through the torii gate, you must purify your hands and mouth at the Temazuye water pavilion. It is there to perform misaji, a ritual to purify the body and mind with water before proceeding to stand in front of a deity. Originally, this ritual was performed in the nude at special misaji locations like the ocean or a river. But today, the ritual has been simplified to rinsing your mouth and hands at a Temazuye water station. Here is Howie showing how to perform this purification.
Right hand side. On the right. Then the mouth. Let's pretend. Then clean up the handle to the next person. Then face down. And it looks like this is a mirror to show your heart. So then down to.
This is the array of wine barrels placed at the front approach to the Meiji Shrine. These wine barrels serve as tangible proof that the beverage has created strong ties with France and served as a bridge for cultural exchange. The #1 wine-producing area in France, rivaling Bordeaux, dedicate their product to the shrine every year. This is the Meiji Shrine. It was dedicated to the deified spirits of Emperor Meiji and his consort, Empress Shogun. The shrine was completed in 1920, 8 years after the passing of the emperor, and 6 years after the passing of the empress. The shrine was destroyed during the Second World War, but was rebuilt shortly thereafter. We take a trip out to Odaiba District, a man-made island which overlooks Tokyo Bay. Our first stop there was the Mega Web Toyota City Showcase. This place is like a museum containing rooms depicting life in recent old times, as well as a showcase for old cars. We stroll outside to the West Promenade that is full of gardens and colorful flowers. Here we get an opportunity to take photos in front of a rose heart. Howie also gets a group photo of us with the background full of more cherry blossoms in full bloom. On this promenade is a full-size statue of the iconic anime robot Gundam. Just around the corner is the Odaiba Statue of Liberty. This replica is only 40 feet tall, about 1/7 the size of its New York counterpart. Howie takes another group photo in front of the replica. We take a boat ride across Tokyo Bay, not in this futuristic watercraft, but instead on this water bus, the Jubilee. Here you get a 360-degree view of the skyline of the Tokyo Bay waterfront with all of the modern buildings. We have lunch at the top of this very tall building. From the top, you get a great view of Tokyo. Here is the Tsukiji fish market again. Across the bay, you can see the Odaiba Island as well as many other landmarks. That night, Howie takes us on a tour of downtown Tokyo. We take the subway and work our way through the busy crowd. Unlike many other large cities, the Japanese people are very respectful of your space, and you don't feel like you're getting pushed around. We get out onto the street and take in the sights of all the tall buildings and bright lights similar to Las Vegas. Howie takes us down a narrow street called Piss Alley. Starting out as an illegal drinking quarters in the late 1940s, this narrow street quickly became a prime spot for cheap drinks and cabaret-style hostess bars. Here you can see how people are crammed into these small bars. Back then, due to the lack of restroom facilities, patrons were known to wander off and relieve themselves on the nearby train tracks, and it did not take long for Piss Alley to earn its name. We get back on the main street of Yasukunumi Dori and wait for the light to change to cross the street. Up above, the subway speeds by as we walk across the busy street. These downtown Tokyo intersections are massive. In Japan, many residents wear surgical masks to filter out the pollen and other pollutants, mainly during the spring season. The buildings are full of bright lights and video animations. We continue walking on the busy night streets when I see something peering over the buildings ahead. It's Godzilla. No place knows this better than Godzilla's hometown of Tokyo, where a giant head of the scaly menace has been seen towering over the Toho building in the Shinjuku ward. You can hear in English the warning messages to be aware of dishonest street vendors.
So please, beware of dishonest, malicious street vendors and sellers.
Howie has a red light for us to find him among the crowded night streets. We continue on, passing more sights and sounds of Tokyo. Here is the Humax Pavilion. The full moon is out as we come to the building that we will have our welcome dinner tonight. We all make a toast to Howie in the beginning of the main tour as we enjoy a 7-course Japanese dinner. Instead of taking the subway back to the hotel, Howie arranged groups of us to take separate cabs. I get in the front seat next to the driver as Bob, Leslie, and Sue get in the back and try to find their seatbelts. Even though the streets were busy, the cars moved safely along the road. Not like most large cities where you are grateful to make it back to your hotel alive. We arrived and the fare was very reasonable. This is our last night in Tokyo, and tomorrow we'll be traveling by charter coach to the village of Oshigawa. We cruise along the Chui Tollway and stop at Oishi Park to take photos of Mount Fuji. This is a rare sight to see Mount Fuji without it being cloaked in clouds. Mount Fuji is the highest mountain in Japan at 12,389 feet. It is a dormant stratovolcano that last erupted in 1707. Mount Fuji's exceptionally symmetrical cone, which is snow-capped about 5 months a year, is a well-known symbol of Japan. Here I get some close-up shots of the snow-capped summit. This body of water in the foreground is Lake Kawaguchi. It is the second largest of the Fuji 5 lakes, even though it has the longest shoreline of any of the Fuji lakes. Up the road from the park is the Ashigawa village, located on the side of a mountain. This was one of our day in the life of experiences that OAT provides on their tours. We meet 2 Japanese housewives showing us how to make hotu noodles, a traditional flat rice noodle. After it is rolled flat, it is cut into thin, narrow strips. We enjoy a wonderful lunch with these homemade noodles in our soup. After lunch, we ask the local housewives about their life in this small rural village. We all thank them for their hospitality.
They said, thank you for the souvenirs.
We wave goodbye to them as Howie takes us on a short walk through their village. By charter coach, we arrive at the hotel in Hakone. Howie demonstrates how to wear a Japanese kimono, which all of us will be wearing tomorrow night for a special banquet dinner.
This way or this way? This is very important. So we will do this like this. So right hand side, right, left. Right, left. So only exception, left, right, is when I went to the other world. Yes. when I
Mike knows
when
it.
I go to some place. Then this is an obisashi. Obisashi, maybe I did 2 times.
Okay.
This is like a belt, not here. This is a shoulder.
Okay, lower.
So lower,
The old men like that.
like a waist.
Okay.
Then right? And then like a men's, usually like this.
Okay. Okay.
The ladies usually tie the knot here,
On the
Side.
right side. Okay.
right side or left side. Yes.
Our first night in Hakone, Howie surprises us with another one of his special activities. I'm not sure what you call it, but it certainly takes guts.
So, if I extend this time to be a fisherman's rod. Fisherman's rod, catch the fish, he could catch the big fish. If I extend it much longer, has to be a holy cycle. To be a Tokyo Tower. Oops. Tokyo Tower. Japan, US friendship flags. This flag is going to be a big rainbow.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
The next day, we take a trip to the Hakone Open Air Museum. It has a collection of over 120 outdoor sculptural works set in a 186-acre green space. This is Japan's first open-air museum, opened in 1969. It has a collection of artworks made by Picasso, Henry Moore, Taro Okamoto, Yasu Mizui, Jiro Softo, and many others, featuring over 1,000 sculptures and works of art. In this museum, they have a natural hot spring running through it, and a few of us decide to relax and soak our feet in it. Most of Picasso's art is housed in a dedicated 2-story building. On our way to the Nurukawa Art Museum, we stopped to walk a half-mile or so on the stone-paved road of Hakone Old Highway. It is a nice cool day for us to walk off our lunch and take in the tall pine trees along the coast. The Nurukawa Art Museum is located by Ashi Lake. This museum boasts the largest collection, approximately 4,000 pieces, of modern Nihonga Japanese-style paintings. Nihonga paintings are typically executed on Japanese paper or silk using brushes. The pigments are derived from natural ingredients like minerals, shells, corals, and even semi-precious stones like malachite, azurite, and cinnabar. The raw materials are powdered into 16 gradations from fine to sandy grain textures. A hide glue solution called Nikawa is used as a binder for these powdered pigments. Nihonga paintings do not need to be put under glass. Unlike regular paintings, these can last for thousands of years. This museum also had a large collection of kaleidoscopes. Take a look at some of these. This museum is the Palace of Beauty and Peace, where visitors can enjoy the landscapes of the world-renowned Hakone and Ashi Lake with Mount Fuji in the background when it is not overcast. As we were viewing Ashi Lake below, we see a hawk fly off with its dinner. Instead of taking a motor coach back to the hotel for our special banquet dinner, we take a ferry across Ashi Lake. Since the weather was a bit on the cool side, most of us enjoyed a front row seat inside. Staying at our hotel includes free hot spring baths. I have heard about these public bathhouses, so I was curious about taking one while I was in Japan. Your room comes with a kimono with 2 types of slippers, one for in your room only, and the other for inside the hotel. First thing is to take off your slippers at the entrance to the dressing room, and take off all of your clothes and put them in the locker provided. All you take with you into the bath is a small face towel only. Japanese hot springs are enjoyed completely naked. Before entering the bath, you need to rinse off your body by sitting on a tiny stool, which is a challenge by itself, and use the wash bowls provided. There are several hot spring pools in the bath area at various temperatures, including an open air bath. The water ranges from around 104 to 110 Fahrenheit. I moved from pool to pool to try them all out. When done, you can wash off the spring water with soap and water, but again sitting on a tiny stool. I was glad I experienced a Japanese hot spring bath. We all dress up in our kimonos for a special banquet dinner. This meal features the traditional foods of Japan. In the center is several choices of sushi, including shrimp, tuna, squid, and salmon. There is also salad, rice, egg, cucumber, and other vegetables. There is tempura, fried fish, and vegetables with miso soup. In the pot was beef with vegetables simmering to perfection. It was a great Japanese dinner. After dinner, Howie shows us how to make Mount Fuji paper crafts. That was fairly easy. Bob shows off his creation. Next, Howie shows us how to make Japanese origamis. Now, that was not so easy. Here are a few that we made. The next day, before we take the bullet train to Nagoya, we stop at the Hamamatsuya woodshop specializing in wooden handcrafts. This elaborate inlay technique was invented by Hakone's Yoseri Saiku over 200 years ago, and he is the 7th generation of that ancestry. The pattern on these boxes are not from paint, but instead from different colors of natural wood that is inlaid and cut into long strips and glued and pressed together. These sticks can be grouped together to make larger blocks. Then the blocks are cut to have identical shapes. Then they are combined to make a full-size block. Next, he planes off a thin section, only 2 millimeters thick, to make one sheet with this pattern. From that block, he can slice 130 sheets. The sheet is then glued to the side of the box. These boxes are called puzzle boxes because it takes a secret sequence of moves to open them. Now he would demonstrate how to open this box.
The first movement.
2回目この面が下がる down two
That is the second movement.
three
Third,
four
4,
five six seven eight nine 10が back 10 11 12 open.
The simplest one takes only 4 moves, with the most complex taking 72 moves. Of course, most of us bought something from this workshop. We got a 2-drawer napkin holder box. We wait for the Shinkansen, also known as a bullet train, at the Odaiba station in Hakone. I get ready to take a video of a train that might go on the inner tracks, but I was facing the wrong way and missed the front and only got it going away. The trains go so fast, by the time you hear them, they're already there. These trains have a maximum speed of 200 miles per hour. It is quite an experience being only 30 feet away as these trains come whizzing by. Here comes our train as it slows down to stop. These trains are very long as it finally comes to a stop. We get on with our lunch we bought at the train station pizzeria. The train starts and you can barely feel that it's moving. It accelerates quickly and we're up to speed in seconds. The only sense that you have that you're going really fast is to look out the window as the scenery flies by. The ride is exceptionally smooth. Here is the map showing how far we are traveling today. The bullet ride ends at Nagoya, and then we switch to an express train to Kanazawa. The next morning we take a trip to Kinrakinen Garden. This is one of Japan's most beautiful gardens, and we are especially lucky to be here during full bloom of cherry blossoms. There are streams running throughout the garden, and this is one of the most visited gardens in all of Japan. Here's a short photo montage of this beautiful garden. Next, we visit a gold leaf museum and discover how gold leaf is made. Essentially, gold leaf is made by beating gold into an extremely thin sheet with a thickness of only 0.1 millionth of a meter, or 0.1 microns. That is 750 times thinner than a human hair. The production of gold leaf started in Kanazawa at the end of the 16th century, and today Kanazawa produces 99% of the gold leaf used in Japan. Gold leaf is used for handicrafts such as vestals and ornaments, as well as the decorations for temples, shrines, and Buddhist altars. I bought a gold leaf golf ball, as well as a beautiful handmade plate. Unfortunately, the plate got broken on the way back to the States. One of the strangest uses of gold leaf in Japan was to eat and drink it. Remember, we had some in our sake in Tokyo? And here are a few people eating it on their ice cream. The next stop is the Higashishira district with its old wooden structures. Howie takes us to a local tea house where geisha is performed. This lady is not a geisha, but she talks about the life of geishas and their turbulent history. Outside, when we were leaving, we could hear geishas practicing their music upstairs. In a few days, we will see a few geishas on the streets of Kyoto. That night, we returned to Kinrakuten Garden, and it was very crowded because it is only open at night during cherry blossom season. This is the famous century-old pine tree lit up at night. The view of the garden at night is quite different than from the day. The grounds have bright lights that produce a simmering glow on the cherry blossoms. Notice how the bright lights make the tree trunks look white. But even at night, you can see the pink in the blossoms. This garden has several ponds, which at night produces a mirror reflection on the trees under the bright lights. This beam of light travels across this pond as there is a waterfall flowing at the far side. Here are a few more colorful water scenes. The green lights add more colors to this scene. On the way out of the park, it is lit up with these ornamental lanterns. Across the road is a Kinrakuten castle that we walk through to get to the garden. The next day, we take the optional trip to Shirakawa-go and Gokayama in the forest countryside outside of Kanazawa. The first stop is at a local community center where we all perform the ancient Japanese tradition of mochitsuki, the making of rice cake. The steamed rice is placed into a large mortar made of wood. There are multiple people involved in this step of mochitsuki. At least one person swings a wooden mallet to hit the rice, and one person turns the rice on each of the mallet's upswings. Then on the downswing, we all chant, "Mishu, hi!" This continues until the mochi is smooth and shiny, and it's impossible to see any of the individual rice grains. We all get our turn to pound the rice. Notice there's always one clown in the group. The mochi is then seasoned with either a sweet or savory flavor. We all tried both, and I preferred the sweet one. Next, we visit a paper workshop to make washi, a thick fibrous paper made from the mixture of kozo, mulberry bark, and the viscous extract of the hollyhock plant. Let's listen in on how to make washi.
So we're going to be teaching you how to make your own washi postcards. So you will be making the paper as well. I'll be showing you how to make your postcards here. And then you'll be scooping towards yourself like this. So straight up and down to start, down around to pick up as much as you can, and then gently shaking here. You're shaking right and left and back and forth as well. And once it's well drained here, it'll actually solidify.
Oh, wow.
And we'll do this whole process 3 times total to make a thicker sheet of paper. Just always try to keep the water inside there.
Okay.
Almost like you're sifting.
Okay. Perfect. I get that.
And you can go ahead and just place all the decorations on top there, however you like. Just decorating all 3 cards there.
Here are my 3 cards as I start to add the decorations to them. Note the logo for Gokayama, which means 5 mountains. The fibrous cards are placed on a tray to trim the edges. Next, the wet cards are placed on the drying plate, and the excess water is brushed out. In about 20 minutes, the washi is complete. Here are my 3 cards. Due to the relative isolation of the Gokayama Mountains, these areas developed independently of Japanese society, resulting in a unique culture and lifestyle. The architectural style known as gasso is characterized by steeply pitched thatched roofs that are both striking and elegant. We head to the Murakami House, which was built in 1578 and is the oldest gasso-style house in the area. In the main room of this house, we enjoy a traditional dance of the Gokayama culture. We are served some hot green tea while the elder describes the traditions and history of the life in this area. Next, we take a tour of this huge house. The first floor is divided into 8 areas with 2 put together to make a kitchen and 2 for the entrance. That leaves 4 other rooms used for living space. We climb the steps to go up to the 2nd and 3rd floors. The upper floors are not divided and are typically used for storage or to harvest silkworms. The house is held together using rope. No metals such as nails or brackets are used. Even without metal, this house is obviously a very strong structure to withstand the heavy snow that these houses must endure during the severe winters, and particularly to survive for more than 440 years. Today our groups are divided into 2 to 4 people to take a taxi to visit a local family that doesn't necessarily speak English. Here is our local family with us. They dress us up in kimonos and take our picture.
Oh, nice style.
Our hostess plays a Japanese harp known as a koto. And then we get another origami lesson. Next, we exchange gifts. We received nice ceramic plates, and we gave them a cactus-painted glass. I really enjoy these local host visits. Next, we travel to Kyoto to visit Japan's most impressive Buddhist temples and Shinto shrines. This is the Sanju Sankento Hall, built in the 12th century and containing an impressive 1,001 statues of the 1,000-handed Kannon, the Buddhist goddess of mercy. Can you see all 1,000 hands? Here are the gods of thunder and wind. Bob and Sue talk with a monk and how he gets another group photo. After lunch, we visit the Tsukiji Temple, also known as the Temple of the Golden Pavilion. This temple has 3 levels, each in a different architectural style as shown here. The top 2 levels are covered in gold leaf. Notice the gold phoenix on top of this temple. This temple was the retirement villa of the shogun Ashikaga Yoshimitsu and became a Zen temple of the Rinzai sect after his death in 1408. Tsukiji is an impressive structure built overlooking a large pond and is the only building left of Yoshimitsu's former retirement complex. It has burned down numerous times throughout its history. The present structure was rebuilt in 1955. Next, we visit the Hekidi House, a 300-year-old building where the famous samurai once lived and is still owned by the Heki family. 2 local women will show us how to prepare meikashirsi, ball sushi. Here are the ingredients for the 4 sushis we are making today.
I'm Yoko. But my family name is not Ono.
Hello. My name is Yumiko.
Let's get started sushi making. Cut, and hold. Bring the rice to room temperature.
Oh, nice. Very good.
Okay, thank you. Today's ingredients: cucumber, fresh cucumber, and yellow is egg omelette, and boiled shrimp, and salmon flakes. Okay, salmon. It is called sake in Japanese. Sake. Sake has 2 meanings in Japanese. Do you know? One is salmon, and the other is drink. Yes, drink. Yes. First, divide vinegared rice into 4 equal portions. 4, and make 4 small balls. Okay. Place cucumber on the center of the plastic wrap. Make a cucumber flower on the plastic wrap first. Place a small ball on the cucumber flower. 1, 2, 3, 4. And shape the sushi into a ball, twisting plastic wrap.
We do the same thing for the other 3.
Mayonnaise on the salmon, sake, salmon. Pink pepper on the mayonnaise, egg, tie.
We tie the egg with seaweed.
Present.
This is what it looks like when it's all done.
all together, show me a big smile. Okay.
We all say "Itakirimasu" and enjoy our homemade sushi. Today we start out visiting the Fushimi Inari Shrine as we pass several street vendors on our way up the hill to the entrance. Here we are at the entrance. Behind the entrance stands the shrine's main hall where visitors pay respect to the resident deity by making a small offering. This shrine is famous for its thousands of vermilion torii gates, which straddles a network of trails behind its main buildings. The trails lead into the wooded forest of the sacred Mount Inari. These gates were donated, and on the reverse side is the name of the donator. Along the main path there are around 10,000 torii gates. This shrine is the most important of several thousands of shrines dedicated to Inari, the Shinto god of rice. Foxes are thought to be Inari's messengers, resulting in many fox statues across the shrine's grounds. At this shrine, there are the fortune-telling stones called Omakaru Ishi. There are 2 stones on top of the stone lanterns. The legend says that after you make a wish, you should try to pick the stone that you think is lighter in weight. Then you lift that stone, and if it seems to be light, it means that your wish will be granted. If it seems heavy, don't despair, you can try again another day. Unfortunately, my stone was heavy. Next, we visit the Todaiji Temple. To get to the temple, you have to pass through Nandabal Gate that had these 2 monstrous 27-foot wooden guardians of the Buddha. Bob steps over the threshold, and now he is on holy ground. As we approach Todaiji's temple's Deibutsu's Den Hall, you will first be impressed by its massive size, 187 feet wide, as it is the largest wooden building in the world, despite the fact that the present reconstruction of 1692 is only 2/3 of the original temple's hall size. Truly amazing. Here is the impressive 52-foot Buddha statue, Deibutsu, which means giant Buddha in Japanese. This is the world's largest bronze Buddha. The Buddha is flanked by 2 bodhisattvas. They are beings that compassionately refrain from entering nirvana in order to save others. As we continue to explore Todaiji, we will likely notice the free-roaming deer, which were traditionally regarded as the messengers of the Shinto god Kasuga. These deer are from nearby Naira Park and the Kasuga Shinto Shrine, where they are protected and roam around in the several hundreds. They will come right up to you looking for a biscuit that you can buy from one of the vendors. The next day, we travel to the 400-year-old Tsukiji temple to practice Zen meditation. We start off taking this sampan, a Japanese wooden flat-bottomed boat, up the Kanazawa River. Just like when you enter Japanese houses, we take off our shoes before entering the boat. This dog belongs to the monk and takes the trip with us. They use long bamboo poles to help guide us when we are near the shore. Next, we start the 242 steps up the mountainside to the Zen temple. The temple is located halfway up the Arashiyama Mountains and requires a bit of hiking up windy stone steps. There are several switchbacks on the way with the occasional waterfalls. Just before getting to the temple, there is a large bronze bell used to signal others or mark the time. However, we all get a chance to slowly draw the rope and beam hammer back to ring the bell. The sounds echo off the surrounding mountains, and the silence in between the rings makes it much more pronounced. In the small temple, we take off our shoes again and sit on the low benches. While at the temple, we will explore another aspect of Zen influence by partaking in a Japanese tea ceremony called sado. The monk will teach us how to create the beverage by placing powdered tea called machu in a teacup, covering it with hot water, and whipping it with a bamboo whisk until it foams slightly with a green color. The monk gives us a prayer to recite as we practice Zen meditation by closing our eyes and clearing all of our thoughts for 5 minutes. The monk sounds a chime to let us know when the meditation is over and we can open our eyes. In Zen philosophy, everything comes back to zero, as shown on this chart on the temple wall. Zero is the most important. There is no birth or death. Once you realize it is zero, then you will obtain everlasting happiness. To love everything and to be loved by everything is the zero mind. Well, I hope that was clear. We head on back down the mountain to visit more sites of Arashiyama. Next, we stroll through Arashiyama Bamboo Grove. This is one of the most photographic sites in the city, but no picture can capture the feeling of standing in the midst of this sprawling bamboo grove. The whole thing has an intense sense of uniqueness that is quite different from any normal forest we know of. Next, we travel to Okochi Sanso Garden and explore the beautiful trails. While strolling through the garden, we hear this interesting bird call. We walk to the top of the hill to take in this panoramic view of Arashiyama below. The next day, we head to Nijo Castle, which was constructed in 1603 and was built by the shogun Tokugawa Ieyasu and became a meeting place for the shoguns. This is Ninamaru Palace, intentionally built with squeaky floors so an intruder would be heard advancing through the rooms. This is Ryoji, the Temple of the Dragon at Peace, and this rock garden is considered one of the finest surviving examples of Kere Sansui, also known as dry landscape. This type of Japanese Zen temple garden design generally features distinctive larger rock formations arranged amidst a sweep of smooth pebbles, small, carefully selected polished river rocks, raked into linear patterns that facilitate meditation. We explore the grounds that are perfectly manicured with cherry blossoms and a pond. Kyoto is the heart of Japan's geisha world. Bob and I hang out on this alley hoping we will see one, and sure enough, here comes two. The younger girl in the red trim is a Maiko and is in her 5-year training to become a geiko, a full-fledged geisha, like the older one on the right. Geishas are highly skilled entertainers who appear at high-end dinners, private parties, and special events to add a special touch to the proceedings. They are not prostitutes. Rather, they are ladies who have trained for years in the traditional Japanese arts to become the perfect entertainers. We were lucky to see them out, since it is rare that they're out in the public. Well, that is the end of our 14 days exploring Japan's cultural treasures. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We were very fortunate to be there at the height of cherry blossom season and with good weather and with good traveling companions. Howie was an excellent tour guide and provides several extra activities to keep us all busy.